Generally, the point of playing a video game is to be good at it, unless you're us, in which case the point is to be bad at it, but in an entertaining way.
Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, I see it. Here we go. Throw! Nice. Oh, they missed.
Nice, very nice.
They missed.
But be wary of being too good at games, elite gaming friends, because there are some video games out there in which flawless perfection is punished. Possibly for balance reasons, possibly to keep you humble, but probably because nobody likes a show-off. See for yourself in these 7 times you failed by being too good at the game. Enjoy, and do beware spoilers for these following games.
Subjects. He is about the same age as your son, and you have never met him. But he has a long life ahead of him.
In the Saw films, serial killer antagonist Jigsaw is a twisted mastermind who uses weaponized escape rooms full of traps to test his victims' resolve and will to live. Traps like the famous reverse bear trap, which, I'm guessing from the name, releases a bear into the wild?
Here's what happens if you lose.
Oh, no, it tears your head in half. Cool. In the Saw video games, on the other hand, Jigsaw seems much more interested in making his victims solve electrical wiring puzzles and walk across balance beams like they're on a goth version of Ninja Warrior. Don't get too good at the awful balance beam minigame, however, because it turns out that if you nail it every time, you lock yourself out of the game's best ending for good. In the prologue of the game, you play as Campbell, a drug addict trying to survive Jigsaw's trials to discover the truth about his son.
You no longer know if he is alive or dead. I can show you the truth, but you must shed some blood.
At the end of Campbell's trials, you're told that above you is another person going through a similar ordeal, and that the elevator at the end of the balance beam next to you will only hold one person. So either you'll need to get across that beam sharpish, or you'll be sacrificing yourself so that the mystery other person can live. Make it across and you live! For about 30 more seconds. This is a Saw game after all.
Game over.
Still, with Campbell dead, the game continues regardless, with you playing as a new protagonist, Michael Tapp, the son of Detective David Tapp, the character you play in the first game. What follows is many hours of traps, boss fights, and yes, fuse puzzles before you reach the very last trial, which might appear strangely familiar.
Can he look past his own greed and selfishness to save just one person? Let's find out.
That's right, you've returned to the scenario in the prologue, only now you're experiencing it from the other side, and if you nailed that balance beam in the intro sequence, I've got bad news for you, buddy. You're getting unavoidably squished. If, on the other hand, you messed up the balance beam in the intro and died, Michael gets out alive, and you get the game's best ending, where Michael either leaves and tells the world the truth about Jigsaw, or dons a pig mask and becomes his new apprentice.
You can take those files that your father collected and publish the truth in a newspaper that will be used to wrap fish the very next day. Or you can help people see the truth within themselves.
We never find out which one he chooses, but it's okay. It also means that you don't have to do any more fuse puzzles, so it's definitely a good ending.
It seems that we have a visitor, Holmes.
Indeed. Come in. Hello, Sir Henry Baskerville. Did you have a good trip?
Famed literary detective Sherlock Holmes is known for 2 things. 1, being a master of ratiocination and deductive reasoning, and 2, being out of copyright, so anyone can do whatever they like with the character. As you can see. With regard to point 1, however, you might want to slow your roll when it comes to Holmes-like thinking when playing 2011's Sherlock Holmes and the Hound of the Baskervilles, because this is a game that actively encourages dull-wittedness more fitting of a Watson than a Holmes. Stupid Watson. How I hate him.
In the books, he's actually a respected doctor and decorated military veteran.
How I hate him. The game has 2 achievements specifically designed for slow players. There's Coffee Break, which lackwit players will unlock if they take more than 10 minutes to solve a puzzle scene, and Slow Motion, which you are only awarded if you take more than 10 minutes to solve a hidden object scene. So if you're a completionist, you're really going to have to actively try to slow down and do worse at the game if you want to unlock all the achievements. I'm sure you can think of some way to waste Holmes' time. There you go.
Wait, you don't expect me to mop up, do you?
Come on, those guys are cake.
Not to mention, much sexier than you.
Well, your sexy little friends. They're coming for a dance.
They're still sexier than you are.
A concept you might be familiar with in video games is dynamic difficulty, whereby the game takes it easier on you if you're struggling. Like how you get better power-ups in Mario Kart when you're doing badly, or how Resident Evil 4 gives you more ammo and health if you keep effing up. Sometimes, however, this dynamic difficulty works the other way, making things harder for you the better you do. No game illustrates this better than God Hand, the excellent and bizarre beat-em-up from Clover Studios and Capcom, in which a man named Gene takes possession of a divinely powerful right arm, which grants him legendary martial arts powers. As you can see. God Hand, which is a hard game, actually has 6 different difficulty levels ranging from level 0 to level die, which should tell you a little something about how hard that is.
What a pain in the behind!
The way it works is that doing well consistently, like avoiding being hit, will cause the difficulty level to rise. Keep taking damage or die and the difficulty level will drop. What this means in theory is that the game is constantly adapting to give you the perfect difficulty throughout. What this means in practice is that if you're too good at God Hand, the game becomes a brutal, borderline impossible slog. Make it up to level die and way more enemies spawn into the levels, and they're much tougher than regular enemies, meaning it's going to take forever to actually put them down. And the bosses, they're all brutally tough, even the ones that look like tiny Power Rangers.
Ow, 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 I'm hurt! I mean hurt! Together we are the...
Our advice, stop playing so well, get punched in the face a few times and savour a much more enjoyable gaming experience. Enjoyable for you, I mean, not the guys getting booted in the nuts.
Ask most people who the villain of the Banjo-Kazooie games is, and they'll say Gruntilda, the witch with a fondness for kidnappings and game shows. Ask anyone who made it to the end of sequel Banjo-Tooie, however, and they'll tell you without a moment's hesitation that the real villain is actually Canary Mary, the aging birdwoman who can f*** all the way off into a bin. Canary Mary is initially encountered in Glitter Gulch Mine, where she makes you do some annoying, but not too onerous, minecart races. Beat her at these and she announces she's off to Cloud Cuckoo Land, which is where you encounter her next, and she has more races for you. These races differ from the original minecart races in 2 main ways. 1, they take place in a big clockwork mouse instead of a minecart, and 2, the final one is one of the hardest challenges ever committed to a video game. The way you speed up in these races is to mash buttons, which is horrible, but it's made even worse by the truly egregious rubber banding from Canary Mary. If you pull ahead of Mary too early in the race because you're a button mashing expert or have several extra fingers, Mary will automatically catch you up and overtake you to such an extent that winning the race becomes literally impossible. In fact, the only slim chance you stand of winning is to stay very close behind Mary for almost the entire race, and then try for a desperate last-second dash to avoid giving the rubber banding AI enough time to realise what it is you're trying to do. when what it is you're trying to do is enjoy playing Banjo-Tooie. Can't be having that, of course.
FTL, Faster Than Light, is a resource management sim that takes place in space. So mostly the resource you're managing is your crew, who do have a propensity for suffocating to death. Although that might just be me. Anyway, FTL has a final boss of sorts in the form of the Rebel flagship, an imposing capital ship full of little guys who would be adorable if they didn't want you dead. Now, in the game prior to this point, one of the most efficient ways of disabling ships and ending battles is to have your little guys teleport over to the enemy ship that you're fighting and just kill everyone. That way, there's no one left alive to operate any of the ship's systems, the vessel is disabled, and you win another space battle. If you're a skilled FTL player and decide to use this tactic on the Rebel flagship, however, you're in for a rude awakening, because while it is possible to kill all the crew on board, when you do so, this happens. Yes, an advanced AI takes over the running of the ship, and it turns out it's much more efficient than stupid actual humans. When there are live humans still on board, they need to manually repair the ship and do things like man weapons and shield systems. With the AI in charge, all that becomes automated, and the ship does a much better job of evading your shots, healing itself, and firing on you. Add that to the list of reasons AI is a bad idea, alongside weird fingers in AI-generated art and the singularity destroying all life on Earth with a swarm of nanomachines. A solid number 3.
The Undertale character Napster Blook is a sad ghost DJ who owns a snail farm because Undertale rules. On this snail farm, players can engage in a mini-game called Thunder Snail, in which you watch snails, not traditionally considered a fast animal, race each other. When taking part in Thunder Snail, you pay 10G to enter, and you must encourage the yellow snail by hitting the Z key repeatedly. However, if you're very good at button mashing and smash the Z key too quickly, your snail will stop in its tracks with a big exclamation mark over its head. Turns out that's too much encouragement, and if you keep it up, your snail will retreat inside its shell and then catch fire from all the pressure. Encouraging your snail the right amount so that it wins handily is also not the way to go, by the way, because then it turns out that the prize is 9G, which you'll notice is less than you paid to enter. No, the real way to win Thunder Snail is to encourage your snail just enough so that it loses by a very, very thin margin. In that situation, the snail thinks it won, and so Napster Blook gives you 30G to spare the snail's feelings. Like I said, Undertale rules.
I used to be just like you. I believed in humanity, the newspapers, soap commercials, politics, and history books. But one day, the world kicks you in the teeth, and you don't have any choice but to see things the way they really are.
In the action-adventure QTE extravaganza Fahrenheit, or Indigo Prophecy if you're nasty, it's your responsibility to unravel the mystery of why ordinary man Lucas Kane murdered someone in the toilets of a diner one night.
What have I done?
The game opens with this very event and with you playing as Lucas in the immediate aftermath, and you have to clear up the crime scene as quickly and efficiently as possible so you aren't immediately thrown in the slammer for a super fast game over.
Don't move. You are under arrest.
And that's how my story ends.
You need to hide the body, mop the floor, and importantly, for the purposes of this video, hide the murder weapon, a knife. If you're good at games, you will naturally nail all of these tasks, but doing a good job of hiding the knife is bad for you further down the road.
The knife. I've got to get rid of it.
This is because firstly, the game doesn't show you where Lucas actually stashes the knife. And secondly, in the next chapter of the game, you play as one of the detectives investigating this crime scene. And one of the things you have to do is find the murder weapon.
Here's his fork, but where's the knife?
This is now much harder to do on account of how you craftily hid it earlier, in a random location that the game decides and then doesn't tell you.
We haven't found the murder weapon. It might still be around here somewhere.
Curse you, past me! And I say that so much it's lost all meaning.
Tyler?
What? This is a restroom, isn't it?
No, this is a crime scene.
Thanks for watching this, another classic Outside Xbox List video, if I do say so myself. All about, what was it about, this video we just did?
This one was about times you failed by being too good at the game.
Yeah, that's right. Not a problem for me. If you'd like to watch this video, it's from Outside Xbox, and it's about heartbreakingly tragic details that you didn't notice when you were playing the game. And this from our sister channel, Outside Extra, who just surpassed 1 million subscribers. And I recommend you watch this video because it's about some of our favourite precious memories with Luke and Ellen.